15 of my friends in their 40s and 50s have left their husbands. Well, something, whammons initiate most divorces. Yeah, I guess it's proven itself right again. This is the real reason why everyone is divorcing and why your marriage is at risk without you realizing it. This is actually a very good article. This is a very good warning. I'm sure when we get to the actual reason, you guys are going to be shocked, I tell you. None of you are going to be able to predict what the reason is. This is good. This is going to be shocking. On Monday, a friend told me almost in passing that she was leaving her miserable marriage. I didn't know there was anything especially miserable about it, although I'd always thought she was way more fun, interesting, and smart than her, frankly, quite boring husband. Yeah, usually it's the opposite. Dang. Having been stuck with him for several hours at a friend's wedding, I'd often wondered since how she put up with him. But who knows? He probably felt the same about me. Probably. I couldn't say I saw it coming then, but honestly, I wasn't surprised. Yeah, there are instances where you don't exactly predict it happened, but once it happens, you just look back at all the warning signs in hindsight. I guess I shouldn't be too surprised. All the warning signs were there. After all, she's not the first to announce imminent divorce. She's not even the second or the third. She's, in fact, about the 15th whammons I know, their mid-40s to late 50s, who has turned around in the past few years and said, this is it, really, for the next 30-odd years. No thanks. What's really hilarious about this is they leave their husbands at 40, at 50, and they think they're going to have like the pick of the litter and as easy of a time on the market as when they were 20. And then they always end up having to settle for someone that's even worse than the man they left because he was apparently beneath them. Let's be clear, these are not on the whole whammons in so-called bad marriages, though I'm inclined to think that bad is in the eye of the person who has to lie next to you in bed every night. Or in the eyes of the person who has to hear I have a headache every night. So they are not on the whole having affairs that you know of. And they are not, again, on the whole been cheated on that you know of. They are not all suddenly freed up by kids leaving home even. Okay, so all the usual suspects are being ticked off one by one. Well, what about just the usual I'm not happy excuse? Oh, we'll get to that. They have just tired of the daily grind of acting the wife, as my aforementioned friend put it, which even in current years seems to entail too much slaving away on behalf of others, not nearly enough appreciation for it. Man, they wipe their own ass for once in their life, and they feel like they should get a participation trophy. Well, you're not gonna clap for me for doing that, huh? You're not gonna show me some appreciation, all right? So yeah, this literally the reason they're leaving their marriages is I'm not happy. He doesn't appreciate me enough. Guaranteed, all of these ex-husbands are going to have way less work and stress now that the source of their work and stress is gone. Now, the first of my friends to leave her husband turned out to be the advance guard. She and her partner have been together for more than 20 years, had 4 children, and despite them both being full-time work, almost 2 decades, she had divided herself between the professional and the domestic, which meant everything else, a social life, an inner life, her friends, friendships, everything went by the road. Like so many heterosexual whammons in traditional marriages, even if you think it's not going to be a traditional when you start out, that you're different, that you will never put up with that patriarchal nonsense. The effort was almost all hers. Well, more than 90% at least. And again, I can guarantee you, man, all these whammons think that like these evil patriarchal men are taking advantage of them and not appreciating them enough. When they leave, the men are often better off, like minus the money that they steal. Yeah, which by the way, bullshit. Because again, if you were to leave your job, can you get your boss to keep paying you your paycheck for like 20 years after quitting your job? No. Then why is it okay in marriage? And if she wasn't doing this domestic chore or that family errand, she was arranging for someone else to do it. If a ball dropped, no one else would pick it up. My friend's partner, charming, funny, and a good dad, definitely one of the good guys, carried on looking after his job while she looked after her job and five other people's lives. All right, let me hear the details though. What was her job and what was his job? Because every single story like this that I've heard, it's always something like the dude is an emergency room doctor that's on call 24/7, and she worked as an assistant secretary at some bank. Oh, or better yet, her quote unquote job was her own business, selling like crochet animals on Etsy, not making any profit whatsoever. All of that's funded by her husband just to shut her up. But whatever. Let her brag about being a business owner. Yeah, entrepreneur. Is that secretary? You mean boss's sex relief? Yeah, that's what I meant. I thought that was clear when I said secretary. Doubtless, he absolutely would have collected the children from school if one of them got sick, but he was at work. It didn't occur to either of them that so was she. Once again, it depends on what the work is. Now, I could be wrong about this. Like, maybe she's the one that was the doctor and he was the secretary. In which case, yeah, it's kind of bullshit that she has to come home and do everything else too. But I can almost guarantee you that he was making like five times as much money and working five times the hours. There's nothing stand out about this story, just as there's nothing stand out about his shock when she told him she wanted a divorce, nor about the familiar recriminations directed at her for giving up on their marriage so easy, though instantly none came from the children who were like, yeah, well, yeah, of course. Look at it this way: the children likely got to listen to her bitch for the past like decade. Now she probably never said anything to her husband. He needs to be a mind reader. He's just supposed to know. But she most likely bitched in front of the kids all the damn time. So yeah, the kids are probably like, finally, maybe she's gonna stop bitching so much now. I know. Is there anything unusual about the assumption that she must have found someone else? Because why else would she leave? Why would anyone pull the plug if they didn't have another bed to jump straight into? For the record, she hadn't. There's probably going to be a progression. Like if this woman has a TikTok, it's going to start out with her spending all the money she got from her husband in the divorce settlement, like throwing some divorce party and celebrating, like, woo, I'm free, woo. And then within like 6 months, it's gonna be her crying that she can't even pay her rent. And she's like so jealous that her husband got back on his feet and is actually doing better off without her while she's struggling so damn much. I would be willing to bet this is where that story's gonna go. So this is a relatively new thing. In part, it's about economics and women's earning their own money, albeit often not a lot of it. It's about privilege. Many people who would love to leave their relationships, ranging from lackluster to downright terrifying, simply can't afford to. Yeah, I mean, really, a lot of the divorces that we see happening in current year, it's simply because of how easy it is to live alone in modern society. It's way cheaper and easier than it would have been a few decades ago, a few centuries ago. So if people have the option to live alone, a lot of them will take it. And it's about the social mores. It's about women's waking up one morning or slowly over the course of years coming to and realizing they've had enough. And then after they blow through all the divorce settlement money, they realize, I miss not having to worry about how I'm going to pay my bills. Like, I miss when things just got paid and I can afford to go on a vacation whenever I wanted and I didn't have to worry about the money. They always pivot back to that. So you don't have to look very far back or even at all to stumble across the old trope of a man who gets successful in his chosen field and dumps his first wife, or the one he's often been with since school or college, who he's had children with, who he's invariably subverted her wishes for a younger, glitzier model, more befitting his new high-flying status. Now, in reality, if that does happen, and it does, Oftentimes, it's because his old wife stops doing her share, quote unquote. Yeah, let me remind you. I know there's like one or two whammons listening. If the man does what he's expected to do in the marriage, like he protects, he provides, etc., etc., yet you refuse to do what you're supposed to do, he's going to get it from somebody else. And if you got a problem with him getting it from somebody else, maybe you should look inwards. And why did he have to go to somebody else to get what I should have been providing him? So recently, I spoke with author Emily House in her latest novel, Mrs. Dickens, which takes inspiration from Charles Dickens' much overlooked first wife, Kate, the whammons who bore her their 10 chillins and then found herself shamed for letting herself go. I mean, did she, though? How much you want to bet the housekeeper did most of the actual work, too? Chances are you don't know anything about Kate other than the celebrated author dumped her because it was a time-honored rite of passage, almost. First wife dies, ages, gets boring, loses her looks, and above all, man moves on. No, I'm not saying that that never happens anymore. Of course, it does all the time. It feels like now it happens the other way around a lot more often. Yeah, but it feels like there's a sea change happening, and a lot of men, not all men, obviously don't like it, and they like things the way they were. This is an argument I've been having since the dawn of my channel, really. In a way, she like the author is not wrong. Men like things the way they were, but it's not just they like things the way they were, it's that the way things are now, it's not worth it for me to even play the game. Because like previously, yeah, there was a lot of downsides, but there was at least a lot of upsides too. Like I took on all these extra risks, but yeah, risks and expenses, and I got rewarded for it. Now I got to keep taking on more risks and more expenses, and my reward keeps shrinking if I get one at all. So from a man's perspective, he's starting to realize, like, why do I even need her? All she does is create more work and drama for me, and then bitches that I don't do my part in cleaning up after her drama and her BS. Then maybe I'd be better off alone. Yeah, now it's all risk, no reward. Exactly. So yeah, in a way, this author's right. Men like things the way they were because at least back then they had some reward for the risk. Now they have no reward. Like, all right, well, if you're not going to give it to me the way it was, I'd rather just not have it at all. And men, this will surprise a lot of women, but men are more than capable of living alone. They're fine with it. It's women that can't seem to manage that on the whole. So you got men that are like, fine, I'll live by myself. And then women are trying to shame them as if there's something wrong with them. Like, no, I don't need to come to you. You need me more than I need you. Instead of trying to shame me, why don't you try to convince me why I should give you a chance? Because the truth is, heterosexual marriage works better for men than whammons. Such a difficult life having to being protected and provided for. Yeah, like Western whammons are probably the most privileged leisure class that has ever existed, and they still complain. Even the ones that may seem based at first. Like, I do all the work around the house and I don't get paid for it. Like, okay, do you pay any bills? No, he makes all the money. He pays the bills. Yeah, okay. So you live here for free. You get your food provided to you. All you have to do is prepare it. You don't have to pay for electricity, water. You don't have to pay for gas. You don't have to pay for anything. You got all that provided for. And all you got to do is like 1 or 2 hours worth of work a day to keep it maintained. And you feel like you're being taken advantage of, huh? Okay. No, I don't really care if women believe this though, because it's not us that are going to suffer for it. Yeah, like us guys that are already single and are going to continue to be single, we don't get affected by this at all. I am looking forward to all the crying TikToks though. So there is that. So when I was writing my book, The Shift, I came across a current -5 study, which researchers asked 3 sets of married couples, heterosexual, gay, and lesbian, about their to keep with daily diaries recording their experiences of marital strain and distress. Women's in different sex marriages reported highest levels of psychological distress. Men in same sex marriages reported the lowest, and men married to whammons and whammons married to whammons were in the middle, according to or recording similar levels of anguish. It's almost as if whammons are the problem. Yeah, notice that when it comes to the gay couples, you just remove women from the equation and stress goes way down. It's got to be those evil misogynistic men. Yeah, got to be it. So what's striking, as story's lead author Michael Garcia pointed out, is that either research has concluded that whammons in general are likely to report the most relationship distress, but it turns out that's only whammons married to men. Yeah, for lesbians though, they got a different type of distress since they got the most physical abuse. The whammons, again, not all do the bulk of the labor. They make the most of the effort. And that's precisely why gay men are the most chill. Am I right? So then I canvassed the 50 whammons aged approximately 40 to 60 who had volunteered to be my focus group for the book. Oh, God, we're doing focus groups now. So of those in long-term relationships, substantially more than 50% were either dissatisfied or had recently left. And soon they're going to be crying in their car on TikTok about how they regret leaving the guy that provided everything for them. And now they have nothing and they got to get out and find a job to pay their bills. Even those who said that they weren't essentially dissatisfied expressed disquiet or when they thought about the future. I'll never forget Stephanie, then 49. They've been with their husband since their late teens and was in despair at their diverging levels of ambition. Oh, bless him for wanting a simple life, sex, 2 bottles of wine, kung pao prawns, and golf most days. Stopping off for 3 pints on the way home, but that's his dream life, not mine. I'm bored of it. I constantly wonder, is this it? Okay, you leave then. Let him have his peaceful life. You stop adding stress to it. Just leave. But realize that after you leave, he's either gonna be happy single or he's gonna replace you. And you're not gonna be able to come back because you're gonna want to come back, but you're not gonna be able to. So it was salutary. I barely needed 2 hands to count the whammons who, like me, were in long-term relationship and happy with the balance of labor and power and responsibility. Even fewer if you counted other whammons whose partners were the opposite sex. Oh, even fewer if you only count. Okay. So the case of the whammons I know, I'm pretty sure that premenopause also comes into play in some shape or form. Oh, perimenopause. Oh, I didn't know that was a word. So the departure of those monthly tidal waves of estrogen, generally called the nurturing hormone, but I prefer to think of it as the doormat hormone, caused them to look up and wonder what they've been doing and been putting up with all these years. So they turn into men. So after menopause, these whammons turn into men and they try to out alpha the alpha in the household. And obviously that's not going to work. And do you wonder, going back to your previous point, why men keep replacing them with newer models? Because they're still feminine. So perhaps conclude that they're not doing and being and putting up with it anymore. And they will enjoy it for a little while until they realize that, oh shit, I'm 55. I have no retirement. I'm living paycheck to paycheck. Oh man, I wish I had a husband that would just take care of this for me like the first 30 years of my adult life. So that's midlife whammons, but what about the rest? Sure, it's not just whammons in their 40s and 50s who are taking a look at heterosexual marriage and finding it wanting. It's whammons of all ages. I have much older friends who joke that if and when they die, their husband will probably remarry in the time it takes to get someone else to change the sheets. But if and when their husband dies, of course, they'll miss him, but they certainly won't be rushing to replace him. Yeah, that's because if your husband dies, you will get all of their resources. You'll get their retirement, their social security. You're going to probably get life insurance. You're not going to have to work anymore. So if you're only in it for the resources, you will be taken care of when your husband dies. You will not need the resources anymore. So yeah, it makes sense you wouldn't really be in a rush to get a new one. They might get a friend for sex and fun and weekends away on the side, but marriage, more dinners, more socks, more snoring, more sky sports, and not on your life. See, now they really are starting to sound like men. Yes, men are kind of the same way. Like, there's a lot of guys that made the mistake and got married before they understood what was going on, and they're like, never again. Once this marriage ends one way or another, nope, never doing this again. And then there are Gen Z women currently between 12 and 27 who are distinctly less enthusiastic than Gen Z men about having chillins someday. Who can blame them? You don't have to have children yourself, and I don't, to know that even now there's only one person whose life changes radically, and it's rarely the man's. Oh, sure. Yeah, especially when the divorce comes and you withhold his children from him. Yeah, no, that doesn't change at all. No, not even a little bit. It's not just about the labor, be it emotional and domestic, but and who ends up taking it on. It's about who gets prioritized and whose hopes and dreams get collectively or individually shunted aside. Okay. A lot of these women, again, like they want to be men, like they have penis envy. So, but they misunderstand, like their husband, as he is working his way up through the ranks at his job. You think he's doing that because he wants to? No, it's so he can pay for your ass and pay for the kids. So they mistake the man doing what the man is obligated to do to keep the household running with him living his dreams. Like just once, I would love to see one of these women's husband, give her like a massive fucking reality check when she's being bitchy like this. Like, oh, my dreams were always pushed aside so we could focus on what he wants and his dreams. And then the guy comes out and says, my dream is to just be living on the beach in Costa Rica all day. Yet I put up with this soul-sucking fucking job to keep your stupid ass happy, and you're clearly not. So, all right, whatever. You know what? You can keep the kids. You can go to work. You can live your dream. You can follow your dream. I'm going to take my half of the money and retire in Costa Rica. That way we can both live our dreams. How about that? I bet most of them wouldn't be too happy about it. Like they really just assume that a man's dream is to be a workhorse. Oh yeah, this is his dream, right? To work 18-hour days to provide money for me. Now, You Can Make This Place Beautiful by poet Maggie Smith, 47, is a gorgeous book and one of a slew of recent American divorce memoirs written by women in their 40s. I've made an impression on bestsellers lists. I can't wait for the follow up. Again, like one thing I've learned from watching Taylor the Fiend, there's always a follow up. Yeah, they start out talking mad shit, and they all end up crying. Others include Liz Lenz's The American Ex-Wife and Leslie Jameson's Splinters. Smith met her ex when they were both studying creative writing. Marriage and Chillins saw her put aside her dream to support his. He went to law school. She became more wife and mother. Do you think his dream was to become a lawyer? Or was he becoming a lawyer to support his family? Like you don't realize his dream was you and the kids. It wasn't the fucking job. The job was a means to an end. You think he was doing it because he liked it, because he wanted to? Oh man. Oh, even better. Oh, you think my job was my dream? No, my dream was to be a video game developer. But since you think I'm going to follow you gave up your dream so I could follow mine. It would be kind of insulting of me to not at least try to follow my dreams now, because otherwise you would have given up yours for nothing, right? So, okay, I'm going to quit my job and try to be a game developer. I'm just going to be working on my indie game 12 hours a day now. Hopefully it sells. She continued to write in a freelance capacity until one day she wrote a poem called Good Bones that went viral and projected her career into the fast lane. It could no longer take the back seat. As Smith says, the inconvenience to her ex of being obliged to travel for work. I didn't feel missed as a person. I felt missed as staff. Oh man, that's fine. Now you're happier alone anyway, right? Now, ultimately, inevitably, they divorced, and Smith was saved at the last moment from sacrificing herself and her dreams altogether. And this is why her memoir and other women's stories of divorce and reemergence are resonating so loudly right now, because a zillion other women's are looking up and thinking, hang on, me too. Man, when has a bunch of women's going me too ever gone wrong? And this is why, and this I think is why there seems to be a divorce and separation epidemic among my heterosexual friends, because they keep getting tricked into thinking they're being taken advantage of when they're living a life of luxury. So they're done being the one who makes all the effort, who remembers all the birthdays, who works out for the what to have for tea. Yeah, that is such hard work, you know. Like, would you rather be working on the construction site? Like that'll be way easier for you. So they're done shoving the aspiration and prioritizing other people's dreams. If they're lucky, they have 30, 40 years ahead of them. This is their time. Yeah, here's what you're forgetting though. They might have 30 or 40 years ahead of them, but they separated from their bank account. They have to pay for those years themselves now. Are they going to be able to? We'll see.